he reminded us that there's something called the big L syndrome. Yeah? And you have it on your forehead.
Yeah.
So Ruto seems to be suffering from that syndrome, the big L syndrome, Bwana Mkubwa syndrome. The religious leaders have agreed that one of their own who goes to church every day, who carries a Bible every Sunday, that he has failed. He has failed them as churches. In fact, what they are short of saying is that the one who drinks a wine like myself would have done a better job. What gives him the idea that he can do as he wishes? This is not his personal house, this is not Sogoi. I think the president needs to stop being simplistic.
Is there a vacuum post Raila?
Play one clip where Ruto has spoken truthfully.
Hello there and welcome to Philip Kisia Unscripted. My name is Jadiel Kabiro for political conversations that I hope will help our leaders make better policy decisions and informed political moves. President William Ruto has received a set of blows on his agenda, from Haiti mission to the affordable housing levy that was supposed to be implemented. It is all about getting the government in track, getting his agenda constitutional. Meru residents heckled him last week. What is wrong? The president, not reluctant, the president actually saying that these projects will continue despite court rulings. Even in Haiti, says they will have a reciprocal agenda, reciprocal agreement with Haiti, so that they can continue with sending our police officers there for peacekeeping mission. Philip Kisia is here with me, unscripted, talking to me about the state of politics and governance in this country, and also advising the president on how he can deal with these blows on his agenda. Philip, thanks for making time. It's another week with you. How are you doing?
I'm good, Jadiel.
Yeah.
I thank God that I'm still breathing. Nobody has attempted to escort me to the Almighty.
I know there are people who ask me, isn't Philip scared? You know, how can you speak the way you do, and you saw what the president was telling Meru people? You cannot talk to me like that. You
know, sometimes it is better when you are truthful. Because when you are truthful, you are at peace. Well, so I'm at peace.
What do you think about when you go home after these shows? Do you think about whether the president has listened to what you've said, or you have given Kenyans hope? What do you think about when you go back home?
Jadiel, my late father-in-law, Honorable Elijah Wasike Mwangari, once said in Parliament, and I quote, or paraphrase, "You stone, I have spoken. And even if you pretend not to have heard, I have spoken." So I am telling Ruto, if I paraphrase, Philip Kisia has spoken, my friend, the President of the Republic of Kenya. Even if you pretend not to have heard, I have spoken. I have spoken.
Simple as that.
Yeah.
As Azimio leader Raila Odinga, on this affordable housing thing, he comes ahead and says we need dialogue so that people can understand, even the government can understand how to implement this affordable housing. Even though at the same time he says, look, we cannot tax Kenyans any further. Is this a step towards the right direction? Let's come, all of us, sit down and agree, what does the president really want?
Jadiel, you see, I cannot agree anymore with the former Prime Minister that if you look at our constitution, the way it was crafted, there is a lot of emphasis on public participation. Unfortunately, we cannot run away from public participation when it comes to something that is going to affect the public. You saw by the constitution, you agree to abide by the constitution, and therefore, there is no escape route. You must follow the constitution. Therefore, the housing issue is important. It is something that we need, like yesterday. But because it affects the public, you have to consult. So there is no program, housing or no housing, that is going to be implemented in this country without proper and adequate public participation.
But you know public participation, how it works in Kenya. Why would you say public participation?
Jadiel, that's why I said, Jadiel, if you listen to me, if you care to listen to me, I said proper and adequate. Don't bundle people in a bus, in a matatu, 50 people, you pay them 100, 500 bob, and then you call that public participation. So there's no escape route. But I can say, Jadiel, at this point, you know, I have just read on social media about the unfortunate statement that my friend, my president, William Ruto has made in Bungoma. He said, in effect, he's going to defy court orders. You know, I mean, sometimes I wonder, not even I wonder, when I look at my president, my friend, he is now coming out like a young man who is jilted because he has been sending fare to this little, the opposite gender. He has been sending fare. And from nowhere, this girl has now said, no, I am not coming for that date of yours. And you send fare. You know, as a young man, you can really feel a lot of pain. So I can see the pain. The president is behaving that way.
He's saying she must come whether she likes.
Like you say, now you're saying, you know, I've sent you fare, I spent so much money on you, you must come, upende usipende. You see, things don't work that way. You must persuade. Yes, sending fare is one of the things, but, you know, it doesn't amount to anything. So try to be persuasive in the way you communicate and relate to, because you see, you are not dealing with machines, you are dealing with human beings. The other thing that I think now I was doubting, I was really doubting myself. But from the reactions, even crowd reaction, you know, as a president, you're sitting on a rooftop and you're engaging the public. You know, this youth. Maybe they have come from somewhere, they have had tea, and you have had milk, and you're engaging them, and you're head of state. Where Nyamaza? Where? Utarimu Mkutano. He's a whole president. I think, because I care for this man, I really care for him. He is under a lot of pressure to deliver, because he has 3.5 years to go. But I would encourage him to go for checkup. Because the way he's behaving, it's as if there's something that is wrong. You know, when you're holding such a position, like I've held one, you need prayers, you need family support, you need close friends to keep on advising you, but you need to go for checkup. Mental health is very important. So I would advise him for free.
Because of what you saw in Meru?
Yeah, because a whole head of state. Jadiel, can you imagine? A whole sitting on a rooftop and lecturing the youth. Wait. My God, it has never happened. And he's the 5th president. It has never happened. Why should it be happening now when people are more, there's a democratic space, when people are able to engage in a civilized manner? He's being very uncivil in the way he's communicating with people.
Now we circle back to Azimio. You've said you will not agree. Before we even talk about prayers, which you have, religious leaders have come out, but you've said you do not agree with the former Prime Minister on dialogue, because we all know we need affordable housing. He is even in agreement with that, but how do we get to a place where we implement it well and not have another sit down?
You see, Jadiel, I think you got me wrong. I have said it. This affordable housing actually was an idea that was panned out by my administration. We came up with this idea in 2010. It's actually documented. So as to whether we need affordable housing or not, the answer is we need affordable housing and social housing like day before yesterday. The only difference between me and the president is the way he's rolling it out. So I fully agree with the former Prime Minister, His Excellency Raila Amolo Odinga, that we must sit down and engage. On one hand, it's a requirement, it's a need, we need these things like yesterday. But on the other side, as you roll out, you are actually guided by the Constitution. You cannot overstep the Constitution under the disguise of rolling out a program. The Constitution is above your manifesto, it's above your program. So if you are going to offend the Constitution, we shall tell you no, and no under whatever terms. So we are ready to face you head on, using whatever means we have to stop you.
I would want to know, if you say that, what did President Uhuru have right when it comes to affordable housing? Because most of these projects that are being launched by the president now were started with President Uhuru Kenyatta without housing levy. And how would this appeals court decision impact or affect the affordable housing program?
You see, first of all, and I say at this point, Jadiel, you know, we need to appreciate the judiciary. The judiciary, and I've said it before, it is one of the, from the three arms of government, it is one of the arms which has completely reformed. Not completely, they still have a long way. So you probably reformed at 90%, given our standards. While the other arms of government have reformed at 10%. So they have a huge gap in terms of reforms. So we must acknowledge the fact that the judiciary has upheld the Constitution and they've got it right, and we need to encourage them. You asked me how President Uhuru got it right. President Uhuru avoided offending the Constitution, okay? Because if you read the judgment, which I have here, the judgment points out two things. There are many things that they have talked about, but there are two fundamental issues that have been brought up. Number one, that the laws that they are using to roll out this program are inconsistent with the Constitution.
Okay.
They have actually offended the Constitution, and therefore they are completely invalid. Number two, they have also said that that the laws are illegal and they have no basis in law. Okay? So if you get back to Uhuru Kenyatta was smart. He really made effort not to offend the Constitution. And even when he did, he went back and he corrected. The second thing that Uhuru Kenyatta did, he did not impose these illegal levies or taxes on people. He looked for money to build these so-called affordable houses. Ruto, on the other side, is collecting money from poor Kenyans who have been completely taxed until they have nothing to be taxed. In fact, they have got to a point where they are saying, give us the taxes and take the pay slip. You take the salary, take it, and let's go with the taxes. They have got to that point. So, you see, Ruto is taxing people who have been overtaxed. In fact, there's nothing left to tax. The third thing that, that Uhuru got it right is that he of course, he realized that affordable housing is not as easy as he thought, and therefore he started rolling it out, you know, in a more systematic and organized manner. Okay? Because you must get a buy-in. People must believe what you're trying to do. You know, this is a foreign thing in our case. We've never had such a program. So when you want people to believe in something, you start from zero, until you get to the peak, because then there's a buy-in. Then the opposition is less. The pressure from the public is less because people believe in what you're doing. Right now, nobody believes in this affordable housing program, and now you can even see the religious leaders have agreed that one of their own who goes to church every day, who carries a Bible every Sunday, that he has failed. He has failed them as churches. In fact, what they are short of saying is that the one who drinks wine like myself would have done a better job.
Let's listen to these religious leaders. They spoke this week about the president, saying they trusted in him and had hope in him because he was part of the congregation.
Every person has an obligation to respect, uphold, and defend the Constitution. The structures and manifestos of political parties are not above the law and are subject to determination by the courts whenever petitions are presented.
Nauliza hii population yetu ambayo ni over 50 million. Who are the beneficiary of these houses? Watachaguliwa namna gani? Unajua kuna maswali nyingi sana ambayo hatuwezi kujibu. Haya manyumba yatagawiwa kina nani na jinsi gani?
Lakini makosa makubwa yaliyoko ni kwa kuwa wanaomzunguka rais wanamdanganya. Huende kawa Rais Ruto ndio rais peke yake Kenya, hata Moi kuwa kama yeye, hata Uhuru kuwa kama yeye, hata Kibaki kuwa kama yeye. Huenda kawa wanaomzunguka wote ni warongo na matapezi.
Philip Kisia, vindu vichenjanga. They come out and say, look, this man was part of us. We believed in him, but it's high time he changes his ways. Is this the case that religious leaders are representing their congregants, both Muslims and Christians?
Jadiel, I am happy the religious leaders have now come out to call their own. The one who attends church every Sunday, carries a Bible. They are late, but we appreciate the intervention. But they are late. They should have done this much earlier. These are the same people who used to sit down with William Ruto. So we assume that the programs that are being rolled out as a result of the meetings they used to have with the religious leaders. So it would appear as if either he didn't get the advice correctly and therefore is rolling out the wrong thing, or that is the advice. But I'm happy that I've now come in to call out their own. They are late, but we do appreciate. The fact is, they are not only talking for their congregants, they're actually talking for the entire nation. People are tired, not only with his programs, with his lies. And I think the church now, or the religious leaders have come to the realization that if they don't speak out, then they will also be smoked out.
Speak out or get smoked out?
Yes. In fact, for me, Jadiel, if these guys were bold enough, because this is one of their own, they should have called him in a meeting and said, either you change your ways or you resign. If you don't resign, we shall join the opposition to smoke you out. Yes.
But why? Why now? Because they are saying, look, the president doesn't have advisors. They are saying that either he doesn't have advisors or those advising him are misleading him. Is this a problem of advice, or as a leader you are running Nairobi, Ruto does not have a clue about what is happening in the country?
You know, Jadiel, give credit to Ruto. He's a fairly intelligent fellow. Okay. He's intelligent by any standard. I think Ruto has one big problem. He listens to himself. He does not listen to any other person. And when you are listening to yourself, it can really be a big problem. Number two, he talks to himself. It is so dangerous when you're talking to yourself, because only mad people talk to themselves. You can, I mean, how do you talk to yourself? How do you assume that the other people know nothing, that is, you're the only one who knows everything, you know it all, you're the mechanic, you're a carpenter, you know you're everything. How can you be everything? You cannot be an expert in everything. And that is what, you know, those are the qualities that my friend William Ruto is displaying. A Mr. Know-it-all. But he's going to fail. And he'll fail so terribly.
I would want to know, because if you find majority of Kenyans, from public participation to the opposition to polls, everyone talking about, we do not want this affordable housing implemented the way the president is. And he's adamant, still pushing for it. In Bungoma says he will still do it, telling even the Speaker of the National Assembly to appeal, you know, on this same issue. What is wrong with stepping back? You're a leader. Is there a point where you'd look back and say, look, let me just... You
see, I can tell you without fear of contradiction that there's a difference between me and William. I don't believe in a leader. That is why, you know, when I was being trained in leadership at Harvard by my good friend, Professor Marty Linsky, he reminded us that there's something called the big L syndrome. And you have it on your forehead.
Yeah.
So Ruto seems to be suffering from that syndrome, the big L syndrome, Bwana Mkubwa syndrome. Actually, when you get to that level, you do not listen to anybody. You listen to yourself. And the people who listen to themselves are mad people. Okay? Now, yeah, Jadiel, you can be laughing, but this is the truth. So now, no, listen, you asked me a question, I'm trying to respond.
I'm just thinking this is the president we're addressing. So.
No, he's my good friend. And you see, being truthful to your friend, you are saving him. You are saving him from so many things. If there's if people revolt, which is likely to be the case because people are boiling, but nobody's telling my good friend and president that people are really boiling. People are getting to the boiling point. These people are likely to snap, take a step back, and let us relook at the whole program. You see, but you know, let me tell you, because as one of the architects, because my team came up with this affordable housing thing, and we did not intend to roll it out the way he's rolling out. I can tell you for free, Jadiel, it's about interest. There is nothing in this program that the Kenya Kwanza government is rolling out that is people-centered. It's about selfish interest. It's about how much money, billions of shillings, they are making from steel, billions of shillings they are making from cement. They don't care about the common mwananchi. They don't care about you. Do they care?
So
they call them affordable housing and the land is free. 60% of the cost goes to land. Then you're putting your 10%. Then the other one is financed by the public. This is a scam.
So
it's not a scam. It's theft.
The simple...
It's just simply stealing from the public. Yeah, what do you call it? What do you call it?
Because everyone is trying to grasp why he really wants it to pass.
I've told you. Jadiel, I've told you. Why are you pretending you've not heard me? You're not behaving like a stone. Jadiel, I've spoken. Even if you pretend not to have heard, I've spoken.
Now look, it is crazy that now leaders from different sectors are asking for the government to refund. Secretary General of Kupet, Akelo Misori, says they need TSC to refund this money. We've heard Azimio saying we need this money to be refunded back to Kenyans, that 1.5% that was taken and 1.5% from the employer. Is it possible to refund this money, and how should the government respond?
Let me tell you first of all, in fact, forget about just refunding, because it's not a matter of discussion. It is a levy or a tax that was illegal and unconstitutional. You know, when you fail to operate within the confines of a constitution, they should not just be refunding. Actually, now Kenyans must push to have them jailed. Kenyans must now push to have President William Ruto resign under Chapter 6. Because when you offend the Constitution, you swear by the Constitution, and you're offending it day in, day out. Under Chapter 6, because it is now obvious that it was not a mistake, you are allowed to make a mistake once, but you are not allowed to make a mistake all the time, every time. So it is as if he doesn't care about this Constitution. In fact, William is operating as if he has suspended the Constitution. He has no regard for the Constitution. So, other than refunding, money that illegally and unconstitutionally collected from Kenyans, they should refund, because it's not a matter of debate. But those involved from the AG's office, from Treasury, should be in jail.
It's not enough to refund.
They should be in jail. And William Ruto himself should consider resigning because of offending the Constitution he swore to abide with and protect.
What is the possibility, and what is the possibility of refunding to?
It's not about a possibility. It's an illegality. I don't know. Jadiel, have you read the judgment?
Yes.
They are saying it was unconstitutional.
Okay.
Full stop.
Period.
It does not give you any room to negotiate.
So you give
these people must refund. It must refund the money they have collected from Kenyans, not yesterday, but today. In fact, if you want to know that these people don't have no regard for the Constitution, I am told even last month they collected money from people.
Yes.
I'm told. These are, either Ruto should now tell us he has suspended the constitution so that we know how to deal with him. Because he's offending us. And if he has suspended, it's now a free for all. Now Kenyans must take everything in their hands and deal with the matter the way they're dealing with us. So force to force, fire to fire. You apply force, the masses must apply force. You apply fire, the masses must apply fire. Because the constitution, the way they're operating, is suspended. Now, the other thing that, I think that's why you see them running helter-skelter, and they're very jittery. These characters have collected commissions in advance. Because if there's nothing, if there's no personal gain, if there's no personal gain, you will comfortably sit down and say, you know what? First of all, I apologize. I was misled. I offended the constitution. There's a judgment against my action. Yeah. So please accept my apologies. And this is what I'm going to do to correct the mistakes I've made. But you cannot continue operating as if there's a constitution.
So logically,
no,
if you look at it,
if William has suspended the constitution, he must tell us. But if we are still operating within the Constitution 2010, he must abide with it. He has no option. Because if he doesn't, it's going to be a free for all. Mundo ho mundo.
Before we look at Haiti, is this a win for Kenyans? You know, you'd see headlines, you'd see Azimio coming and saying this is a win for Kenyans. Now we're not getting taxed, but we actually do need the much needed affordable housing. Is this a win when the court says no housing levy?
You see, it's a win for Kenyans. When there's a need for certain service, for certain goods, it's a need that you cannot run away from. The only thing that the laws and the Constitution is telling you, as you implement what you want to implement, as you implement your manifesto, your people's desires, just do it within the confines of the Constitution. So, yes, we need the housing. Let him just come and consult some of us. We'll tell him how to roll it out in a very gradual and systematic way that will not inflict pain on people, that he'll move from Azakayo, and people refer to him as Azakayo, to a darling with the people. Right now he's not. People see him as a ghost. People, and you see, when you're only done about 16 months of your term, and you have a 5-year term, and people don't want to see you, people are switching off TVs, it's a bad situation to be in. I feel sorry for William, because he's my personal friend. And when I talk with passion like this, it's because I care for this country, and I feel for him. And from where I sit, I'd said, for the first time, somebody who's not from the dynasty has become a president. On one side, of course, I was mourning that my candidate lost. But I said, you know what? There is hope. But now, he has actually destroyed what we had. That from nowhere, you've become something. He gave hope. Now people are questioning. Maybe we're better off with the dynasties. But again, he's already become a dynasty himself.
Now, Kenya is still going to push ahead with the plans that were backed by you and to send our national police to Haiti to restore peace and order from the gangs. Ruto told Reuters, and let me just quote him on this one, so that mission can go ahead as soon as next week if all the paperwork is done between Kenya and Haiti on the bilateral route that has been suggested by the court. Ruto said this while he was while attending that Italian Africa summit in Rome. Should we now come up with this reciprocal agreement between Haiti and Kenya for our national police to be sent there? Now this can be sort of constitutional now because there is an agreement.
Let me, because this is is a weighty matter.
Yes, it is.
But I've gone through the statement which my president made, and I agree with him to a large extent, that the Haiti mission is humanitarian, correct. That Haiti is in dire need of certain interventions and assistance, I agree 100%. Okay? But where we disagree is the following. When he says that the courts will not bar him from sending our police officers to Haiti, that I totally disagree with him. It's unconstitutional. The other thing that I may want also to point out to him, he says that our troops are well trained. I don't know what his benchmark. Because if his benchmark is what we've seen here, when we had Mandamano here, you saw the way they reacted to its own citizens with force, brutal force. Brutal force is nowhere in modern civilization. You can't say somebody applying brutal force on people is well trained. That is somebody who is ill-trained. That's actually somebody who needs to be retrained. Okay? Now, let me say this, Jadiel. You know, Kenya is part of the UN system. And we have certain obligations that are expected from us, which include peacekeeping missions. Because the UN core mandate is to ensure international peace and security. And we are part of their system. So we're expected to do what? To participate. But the same UN has certain framework from which we operate from. Number one, where there is no clear understanding, as you said earlier, is there a reciprocal arrangement between Kenya and Haiti? There's none. And if they're attempting to rush one now, that is now when you say there's lack of transparency and accountability. If they're attempting to put some things on paper,
because they're saying they'll get the right paperwork.
If they're doing that and the United Nations is part of that arrangement, we shall call them out. We are also going to call out the United States because they are the principal shareholders of the United Nations. We expect them to operate in a democratic and transparent manner. And it doesn't include, you know, even that will require public participation because, you see, we are taking our youth, our police, 1,000 of them in foreign land, where they don't understand that terrain. We don't want our boys and girls to come back and touch wood, to come back as cargo. Because Haiti is not the demonstration Mandamano we have here. Those guys are lethal, my friend. And they're saying they will be met by force. And we don't want to lose our people just because of somebody who wants to prove something to the world. There's nothing for Kenya to prove. Why am I saying there's nothing for Kenya to prove? Because they have been unable to deal with their own local issues here. And if we were to give any assistance, humanitarian or otherwise, let us start with our own country. Let us start with our neighbors. There are challenges in Ethiopia. There are challenges in Sudan. There are challenges in DRC. There are challenges in West Africa. There are challenges even in South. There are challenges in Africa. Why should we pick on Kenya, which is not even among the top 10 in terms of best police services, best police units in Africa? They don't even appear in top 15. But you come and pick on Kenya to send them on such a mission. If it was Africa, why not pick from the best? And they're there, they're known. By the way, even Sudan is better than ours.
Oh.
Yes. Yeah, these are facts that you can find out. Okay? So why come and pick specifically on Kenya? You can imagine, why not pick on even a country from Europe where they are more advanced in training, they are more advanced in techniques, they are more advanced in everything. Why come to Kenya? Why Kenya? Is it because we are soft? Is it because we just, we can be compromised? I think there's more, we need to dive into this thing even further and find out exactly why is this administration in a hurry to send our people, to put our people at risk.
You know, in the
1,000 people is actually 1,000 people. I think now we're about 100,000 police officers. So that's about what? 1%. You're sending 1% of our people on a mission that is not necessary, that is not a priority. Come on, let us be serious, man.
Now, Justice Enoch Chacha emphasized that the Constitution only permits members of the Kenyan Defense Forces. If Ruto takes this route, KDF, and a reciprocal arrangement, would you be comfortable with sending our people to Haiti?
You see, I think, again, if you look at the ruling, which I have here, I have it here. I tried to go through this. They have pointed out a few things. They are saying, one, I think the government was trying to say that the petition or the case was not properly before the courts. The courts have said, listen, this is a matter of public interest. It is proper because it is defending the Constitution. So it is properly before the court. It's talking about the Constitution. So it's a constitutional matter. The other thing that they have pointed out in this ruling is the offending of section of the National Police Service, section 107, 108, 109. They have been, not taken into account, okay?
Yeah.
And therefore, their action is inconsistent with the sections of this National Police Service Act, okay? The third thing they have talked about, because they were hiding behind the National Security Council. They were hiding behind that one.
Yeah.
The National Security Council has no mandate over police.
Yeah.
Okay? I think the people who sit in this council, again, need to be called out. How can they make such a decision that is unconstitutional? So, if you ask me, Jadiel, either my friend, my good friend, President William Ruto, who I care for, because I would want to see him finish his term, but he's in a hurry not to finish. He's in a hurry to send himself home.
Yeah.
I'm trying to help him. And many other people are trying to help him. So he either listens or he's going to ship himself out of office sooner than later.
You haven't answered me. Would you be comfortable if they use KDF or we have a reciprocal arrangement?
You see, I mean, do we have a reciprocal arrangement?
Not yet.
We don't have.
Yeah.
But even still, the same questions I will ask you. We have Al-Shabaab here. We have our own issues here.
We have bandits.
we have so many challenges.
Yeah.
Why would you go and rescue a neighbor when your house is burning?
Yeah.
So even those KDF, they should stay here and deal with our own issues. Why? America has a big army, strong army, more sophisticated, more equipment, money. They have everything.
Yeah.
Why can't the Americans send their own army to Haiti? Why are they insisting on Kenya? Why? I'm telling you, I am going to write to the UN Council and to the government of the United States through the ambassador here and call President Biden for who he is and United Nations. Because they are the ones who keep on talking about democracy. They are the ones who keep on reminding Africans about the rule of law, following the Constitution. The courts have declared this action unconstitutional. If they support this, Kenya, and I hope now Africa, will join Kenyans in taking action that is necessary and appropriate. Because we cannot allow this to happen.
Okay.
Why can't America get some other people? Why Kenya, poor country?
We
are suffering. We have so many challenges. You pick on Kenya for what reason?
Maybe.
But you can understand there's a huge budget on this mission.
Yes.
And going by the Kenyan culture of eating, this culture of eating, if this here is $20 billion, so 40% of eating, I think that's what is sending people crazy. People are so crazy.
They must.
You can imagine someone is 40% of $20 billion. Yeah? Because there's procurement there's many things there.
Yes.
Many things. Of course, our boys and girls will get some small allowances. And hope, and I pray to God, touch wood, they don't come back in as cargo. Because the possibilities are very high. And it's my prayer. Get some small little allowances. But the bulk of the money is going to go to people's pockets. And that's why people are so furious. People must go. I don't care about the courts. This is going to happen. It is that culture of seeing that budget, $20 billion, and imagining.
No, finally,
Yeah.
These are all blows to Ruto's policies, agenda. Of course, he's having his counter blows, saying we will write to Haiti, we'll have a reciprocal arrangement, I will still construct. He's in Bungoma saying we are constructing. How should he deal with these rulings that come his way? And the religious leaders are saying you don't have advisors, get some sound people. What should be the next step for Ruto that we avoid this embarrassment?
You see, first of all, Kenya is not short of advisors. He's not the first president. Kenya has been independent for more than 60 years. And we've been able to manage our affairs properly. He's the only one who imagines that we've lagged behind in development. He's the only one. Why is he the only one who thinks that we've done so badly? Because he listens to himself. And only a madman listens to himself.
You're going back there.
Okay? So, the thing that I would advise my friend, my president, who I care for, is to stop listening to himself, consult, and get advice. He's not the first president. You know, Mudavadi is my neighbor, Uncle Mudavadi. And sometimes I visit him. And I would, you know, even when Uhuru was president, I say, Mzee, how are you? He says to me, by the way, the president was here on the down. He was here.
Yeah.
So I was just coming for, no, he was coming for advice. You get the point?
Okay.
I don't know whether Ruto takes time because he appears not to have respect for all the people. You cannot buy wisdom. You cannot buy experience from any university. You can't. You must experience. So those people who have experienced leadership, leading corporations, leading nations, and what have you, consult with them. It doesn't cost you anything. Then there are technocrats around you who have been there, who understand the job better than you do. Listen to them, consult with them. Don't come up with policies that are only benefiting you. Come up with policies that are acceptable to the people of Kenya. Some of his policies are a no to this nation. People don't want those policies. And then finally, as painful as it may be, he must operate within the rule of the law. He must obey the Constitution. If he doesn't obey the Constitution, if he continues disregarding the Constitution, then he'll meet fire. Fire for fire, force for force, mundu humundu.
Every action must have a reaction. That is Philip Kisia, mundo humundu. He said Ruto suffers from Bwana Mkubwa syndrome and only mad people listen to themselves. I don't know if you'll have this conversation again. Thank you, Philip, for coming through. These conversations are conversations which I hope will help our leaders make better policy decisions, inform political moves, and help them not to suffer from embarrassment. Final word, as we always do to our viewers who've decided to take time to listen to us.
Fellow Kenyans, please have hope, because once you lose hope, then you're as good as dead. Let's keep hope alive.
Keeping hope alive, yes indeed. Thank you. If you know someone who hasn't checked our conversation, tell them that we're here every Thursday and Friday. Philip Kisia Unscripted, telling it as it is. If it's a spade, he calls it a spade. Until we do talk again, have yourself a lovely rest of your day.